Every time you talk about the free market or society having more and more things available to them because of the free market and competition and proliferation of knowledge and the division of labor, you have certain people that automatically assume that you're a materialist. You're all about consumers, consumption. People are just greedy, greedy, greedy. They want more stuff. And they want more little trinkets. That's the accusation that always comes down. And so, let's ask ourselves, is it consumerism? Is it just wanting to surround yourself with more stuff that makes the free market beneficial? Or that makes free trade beneficial? You know, let's take something as simple as the light bulb, for example, or running water. Let's say running water was a great advance in society. It was a benefit. It made the quality of people's lives so much better. It allowed them to live in more diverse places. It allowed them to free up their time for other productive activities rather than going down to the river and hauling pails back up to the house. It allowed people to farm, actually feed more people, because more farmland further away from water sources was able to be cultivated this way. A great boon to mankind in general. But that came about through the very process that I talked about. When the technology for running water was first available, someone had an exclusivity on it. It was very rare. It was very expensive. The supply of the supplies needed to set up running water were not in heavy demand. There was not a heavy supply for them. So it was no doubt expensive to set up a system of running water. But as people began to see the benefits of running water, more people began to demand it, more people came into the market to supply it, price went down, it became available to more and more people, etc., etc. Isn't society better off for having running water? And isn't this system that I talk about, of free trade and proliferation of knowledge, the exact reason why it's commonplace for almost every person in America today to have running water, when 150 years ago almost nobody did? Yes, of course it is. Electricity is the same way. You know, my wife spent a lot of time in the hospital, and there were times when her lungs were so bad she had to go on a ventilator machine. And if not for that ventilator, she would have actually died, because her lungs were so bad. She couldn't breathe on her own at that point. Yet the ventilator never existed. I'd say 60 years ago. I'm just guessing, but definitely not 100 years ago. Never existed. Well, was the capacity of the human mind so much smaller 60 years ago than it is today? How come it just came into existence now? It's because this process I talk about has taken place. Knowledge has proliferated out in other areas. We've gotten more efficient in other areas. We required less labor resources to be dedicated to those areas. But not only labor resources, but the capacity of the human mind can now move on and focus its abilities onto other things that we therefore had not been able to think about, because we were busy supplying other necessities of life. And so this great machine that actually saved lives, you know, someone who has a lung problem at 28 can now stay on that ventilator till their lung problem is solved, come off the ventilator, and live 30, 40, 50 more years. Think of the pacemaker. Think of how many people have seen their grandchildren grow up because of the pacemaker. All these wonderful advances. Think about how hard life was before the car. Did the capacity of the human mind not have the ability to conceive of the car in 1750? Of course it did. The mind was just as capable. But we hadn't advanced to the point where we could turn our thoughts and our concentrations to bringing forth something new like that. Life was so rudimentary that we had to provide the basics of life first. So, promoting free trade, promoting transitions from one industry to another, is not about consumerism and materialism and surrounding yourself with so many trinkets. Yeah, it brings us big screen, flat panel TVs, it brings us cell phones, it brings us MP3 players, it brings us the newest computer, it brings us this and it brings us that. But the great advances in society and life have come through this process I talk about of the division of labor, the proliferation of knowledge, and transition from one industry to another. And it's even brought me this cute little video camera that I record on. So, that's good enough for me, but I think I'd much rather concentrate on the life-saving advances, the alleviation of human suffering, the advancement in the ease of life that this same process has brought. And people want to act like it's just consumerism. It's not. It's a better life for people. And this is the only way to accomplish it.